Welcome to Kolorflow Conversations, where we flow freely, speak boldly, and connect colorfully. I am Uakeisha, and this is
Tikisha. You really have to do all that.
And as you can see, we have two very special guests with us. I think that since we started, we probably mentioned these two the most out of every episode.
I'm pretty sure.
Yes, so we welcome my sister, who is here in the green, Tonya.
Hi, everybody. I'm all of their sisters.
And then Tikisha's sister, Tiffani.
Hi.
Tikisha, Tonya, Tiffani, and Keisha.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like I said, we probably mentioned, well, first of all, this episode is being aired like the day after Siblings Day. So we really, really wanted to have, I think that we wanted to have y'all on for a while, but this seemed like the perfect time to do it when it's Siblings Day because, like I said, we mentioned, just naturally, but I was talking to my sister and we said this, and I was talking to my sister, and let me first tell my sister thank you because for the year and months that we've been doing this, the one person who watch every week is my sister. And you don't have to do that. So I appreciate it. You give feedback and we've watched you in person watch it, and you watch it like a soap opera.
Of course.
Yes, it is very entertaining.
It's very entertaining.
Yeah, it's
very watching you talk to the screen.
Yes, we watch you talk to the screen. So I'm like, thank you for
like I'm at the movies. You know how you at the movies?
She does. She watches.
And as you watching it, I can imagine like you typing your responses as we're talking. You don't wait to the end. You say it right.
I be cracking up like, why is Tonya and making a comment? And when you say something, I'll be like, what was we talking about at that point?
That is how I am. Somebody said something else like, I agree, Keisha, and I'm like, with what?
I don't even know what they're talking about, but thank you. But yeah, we mentioned our sisters probably it's probably been every episode. Like I was talking to my sister and we was talking about this, and I was talking to my sister, so I think it was only fitting that we brought y'all in on Siblings. Is it Sister Day?
No, that's not until later in the year.
But it's Siblings Day.
Mm-hmm.
Siblings.
When is that? Siblings Day?
Friday. Yeah. So yeah.
No, it's Thursday.
It's actually Thursday. Yes,
yeah, it's Thursday. The 10th.
So me and Tikisha talk. We don't never have no topic. We just kind of flow. But in our flowing, we always just talk about like growing up and what we found out doing this podcast was our families mirror each other a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found out was me and Tiffani mirrored each other.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
We're
all the time.
And not the same person, but just like even through childhood when we talk about stuff, I'll be like, Tiffany be like, that's like Tiffany. I'm like, really? Mm-hmm. And then when we talking, I'm like, wow, we are very, very similar. So I think that I understand a lot of stuff with you, and my sister understand a lot of stuff. Well, Tikisha understand a lot of stuff with my sister. Definitely. So I think it's helped me with my relationship with my sister. I don't know if it's helped you with your relationship with your sister because of how I am. But like I said, when I say we mirror each other, it's like Tonya and Tikisha both are very empathetic.
Well, first establish that we are firstborn.
I was waiting. It was in my head. I knew Tonya was going to say it.
It's firstborn.
Because that firstborn daughter, whatever stigma is with that, it's true. It's a thing. It's a thing.
You're nurturers by default. You're leaders.
I see a lot about firstborn daughters on TikTok.
Yeah. And
because I'm not a firstborn, of course I don't. I listen to it a lot because I want to understand
it's helping you to understand.
But listening to you talk about firstborn daughter a lot helped me understand my sister.
Yeah.
And then when you are the firstborn, so do you feel like you like the nurturer of the family?
You're the second mom.
Yeah.
You're the second mom by default. Even if you don't want to be, that's the role you're thrown into.
And it's not necessarily that you all do that. Parents rely on us that way.
And see, I think that I didn't see a lot of her being thrown into that growing up because I just was in my own world.
There are things that I
and
know
I think
that
that's
I
the
know.
thing with the youngest, with the baby.
Yeah.
You guys are in your own world, so you don't see what the other sibling is
Did you? But I'm saying, Tiffany, do you think that Tikisha was like a second mother?
Absolutely, especially starting at the age of 14, because by no fault of her own, I just feel like my mom checked out. So my sister became like
the second mother. So you would check in with her on things and come to her on things.
Yeah, like when I needed stuff, it's like, let me just ask Keisha. Especially she had a good job, working at the co-op, and she always had money.
So you was
was
going to her.
Yeah.
And you filled that role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't necessarily.
I was about to say I didn't do that.
But like
You didn't
looking
do that.
back, and we talked about this before, like my mom was young.
Yeah.
So with her getting married right at 18, becoming a mother at 19, by that time, like she was trying to live her life. If me and Tiffany was 5 years apart, 14, 15, like I was 19 years old.
So
My mom was 39.
Yeah.
What's your age difference?
She was 5 years.
See, and maybe that's the difference with us is because there is not a big age gap.
You didn't do it, but mom did it.
What'd she do?
So she would do things like, your sister's watching you, so you have to.
Really?
Oh yes, ma'am. And I'm gonna give you an example. There's a picture that was in there in the den, and it was both of our graduation picture. You had the same exact hairstyle. Like you literally would duplicate everything I did by default. Mm-hmm. And she would always put it in my mind, your sister, she's going to be watching you, your sister going, and I'm looking at her like, so I don't want her to watch me. But I didn't want the responsibility. That's just what she put that in me. So even if I didn't, like when you got ready to go to Toronto, I didn't want to take you. By default, they're like, you're driving your sister to Toronto and back. So you're doing this.
I never knew you didn't want to take me.
For what?
I don't even.
We don't never be wanting to do nothing. We just be doing it.
Listen, I thought it was a family affair.
Look,
You thinking you get the love, and we're just like.
Family affair don't mean I take my car. I had to take my car.
Oh, we did ride in your car. Oh.
So I had to literally be the leader of this whole tribe of us taking you to
I didn't even think about that. So I feel like our childhood, when me and Tikisha be talking every week, a lot of stuff be coming out that, and then because me and you talk every day, a lot of stuff come out that I don't be realizing from childhood that I feel like we went through things differently. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably thinking it's the same with you all.
Yeah, because it's just like we grew up in the same household, but we had different experiences under that roof.
Yeah, like even like with, I think I just found out within the last year, like how you said that you was playing for the church and everything and making money, but our parents was keeping her money.
Yeah,
and
she didn't know it.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
So when
Are you for real?
I started playing. I remember I was the
League.
Listen,
but it was for good reason.
Well,
so
let me say this. Okay, so I started playing. We had all these musicians that were coming in and out. Musicians are not loyal. And so I kept telling my dad, being the pick-me daughter, pick me, I'll take lessons, I'll learn.
You told him that?
I told him that.
And then by default, I had to take lessons.
I was 13 because I was seeking their approval.
Mm-hmm.
So it was seeking their approval. So I said, I'll do it. So they put me in lessons. So they put you in everything that I was in. You made it very clear. Her whole demeanor would be, I don't want to do this. And so I had to do that.
I sure did.
So I started playing. I ended up being a musician, and I was now I think 16, and I was the full-fledged musician. I remember at the time I think the salary was like $100 or $150. Mom and them were negotiating because the church would only give me $75 because of my age. And so my mother and them said, well, we're going to put money with this because she by right should have whatever the musician's salary is. Girl, they was keeping the money. And I never saw it. So by the time I got to college, I'm like, where the money at?
But they were keeping it
to
save it and help pay for school stuff.
They were keeping it because I had grants and stuff like that for college. But to me now as a parent, I'm thinking like, well, maybe you should have gave me 25, gave me 40, do
I
something.
agree.
You know, you was keeping it, and,
So
and you had
nothing?
I got nothing. So that's probably why Tanya's a hustler. So Tanya works 50,000 jobs because Tanya likes money. And so I was like that at a very early age because it was being taken. So imagine now being a teenager, you getting $150 a week, and you show up for rehearsal and you don't get
it. And see, this is something I didn't know was happening.
I would go buy. Back then we had CDs, so I had to buy the CDs to learn the music. But this was all coming from my own extra money. It wasn't coming from the money that was the actual church money. So I was like letting them do that because I'm a kid.
Right. And so probably like me or Keisha, I would have been like, where my money?
Right. Because I didn't want to learn how to drive. I was forced to learn how to drive. Then they brought home the car that I didn't want, and then I was forced to give $140 for the car. But I just did it and never said a word.
No.
I'm not doing that.
Like when she was taking the music, I didn't know you volunteered to take music lessons. I thought this was something that they, you know, like we want our daughters to learn, right? So I'm in the piano lessons like this.
She hated it.
I hated it.
Me, I'm in there like, oh, this is great. I'm learning. I'm like,
but she also wanted to please them, and I was just
time.
like, I'm not about to
all the time
keep playing these piano for this church, and I only played 2 songs.
So let me ask you this, Tonya. Now, as an adult, and you know how we've done a lot of self-reflecting on stuff, do you still have that where you want to please your parents? Do you still act from that?
I don't act from that now. I remember the transition, and it was when I had Caleb.
Really?
Yeah, I remember I was going through a divorce, and Caleb was not by my ex-husband, you know, so I had some, you know, and so I ended up getting pregnant, and I remember my mom was like, you know, who the father? And I said, well, you ain't got to be married to have a baby. And she looked at me, and I'm like, oh, look. It was
and
like,
that was a start,
imagine somebody who was always just like, whatever you say. I'm like, whatever you like. No. And then it changed from that to like, well, I remember she started telling me, you changing. And I'm like 31 versus a teenager. I'm 31, I'm grown. So it was, I don't feel like I'm that now. I do feel like in certain instances I try to honor my mother's legacy, but overall I try to decide for me. But I use Christ
you honor yourself first.
Well, more so God.
Honor God first, then yourself.
Myself. Yeah. But it took a long time to get to that place because I was so trying to get their approval, and I don't know why it's like that, but it was like that.
I did not come out of that until right before my mother was passing.
Wow.
And when I acted on that, it's now it's not anymore because I didn't pray my way through it, but it was my biggest regret.
Yeah.
Because everything that she's ever asked me to do, I recall, I think I've always done it. But the one night when she wanted me to spend the night at the hospital, I didn't want to. So I went home because that was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But that moment shifted the whole trajectory of our lives leading up to her passing. I never got a chance to say, you know what, I'm sorry. But at the same time, I was only sorry because shortly after she passed away, I wasn't necessarily sorry that I didn't stay because for the first time, I did something that I wanted to do.
And people won't understand that that's a breakthrough. But people won't understand that. So he will use those moments that you think is supposed to be significantly going in a different direction. He'll use that and you're breaking through in the midst of something tragic happening. You're breaking through.
And then there is us, the rebellious daughters.
Who's very rebellious.
and I won't say rebellious in a bad, I'm not saying rebellious in a bad way.
No.
But just rebellious, and maybe I'm still a little rebellious.
You had questions. You wanted to know why.
I always had questions.
Yeah.
I always wanted to know why. Yeah. Why do we have to do
Let's
this?
Let's be clear. She still has questions.
Yes, I do. I still have questions because I'm inquisitive. I want to know. But in my,
let me tell y'all on the way here, she was just like, well, did you? I was like, I didn't ask.
Wait a minute, yes, because if it's, we talk about something, I'll be like, well, what about this? Did you ask? And she'd be like, you know I don't ask
Because
questions.
my baby dad coming. And she was just like, well, what, when, and why? And I'm like, I ain't asked. He said next weekend, and that was it. I was quiet on the phone.
But maybe that made me rebellious because I always knew that I didn't want to live this life of just do what somebody tell me to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I still don't want to live that life of live what somebody tell me to do now except God. But I don't.
That's a word. That really registers with me.
It stood out to me too. And I'm going to tell you what just came to me. So you had the example of what not to do before you because you you may not have paid attention, but you were in the environment where you saw somebody doing
it, and it's I don't want to do that. We didn't have that example.
You understand what's coming?
And I think that like me and Tiffani could correct me if I'm wrong. She probably was very similar to I don't want to do what somebody else tell me to do, but at the same time, y'all have a 5-year difference. So hers was probably a little more younger as I want to do what y'all tell me to do, but I want you to help me do this at the same time.
I just don't think I ever cared.
Really?
I think I just came out the womb
not caring.
Tiffani, wait a minute. The honesty in that though, Tiffani, is very huge.
Because it's like, I'm going to have fun and I'll deal with the consequences later.
Wow.
You might be.
I think that's why we mirror each other.
Yeah.
Because, not that I never cared. I think I cared maybe a little more. Maybe?
No.
I know I didn't care. And I would say, like, I was really a selfish person until I became a mother. Still a little bit, was still selfish. But
I was about to say, like, are you still selfish?
Even after that, but now I think I'm working on myself. Like, I'm not as selfish.
I think so in my selfishness, because I recognize my selfishness, it's easier for me now to take accountability for my I don't care or I don't want to do that. Because I know there's a time and place for that. So now it's a little different because I feel like as you get older, you do got to take accountability for how I am or how I treat people or how I am in situations. But there's still an okay moment. When do you be selfish? When is it okay to be selfish? Like, I probably was more selfish growing up. Like I didn't know you was going through stuff, and I actually didn't care. I probably would. Now as an adult, I care that because it probably caused some childhood trauma for my sister that I didn't know about. We all got different traumas. So me hearing you talk about this now or over the time that we've been talking about it, I was like, back then I probably would have been like
shocked about a lot of stuff lately.
Back then I know I would have been like, girl, I ain't got nothing to do with me. But now as an adult, I don't want us to pass that trauma down to our kids. So now I'm like, I need to work on things where I gotta be, because I don't want my sister to feel like she gotta be a mother to me. I don't think that's healthy for her.
I mean,
it could be the space, but I don't want you to feel like you got a responsibility since my mama not here to be like you have to mother me. I don't think that should be a pressure on you, because at this big age of mine now, I should be the one who's assisting, or we should be helping each other in those situations, if that makes sense. So I don't want you to feel like it's my responsibility as the matriarch of the family, even though I know y'all love it and hate it at the same time. I don't want you to feel like the responsible. I want you to be there for me if I need it, but I don't want you to feel like every situation that I have right now that you have to mother.
It's so funny because these moments when you've had medical episodes, or when Dad got rushed to the hospital, it took, y'all mention him sometime without mentioning his name, but the unicorn dude in our family. It takes his voice sometime when I'm on the phone and I'm getting hyped and I'm like, hey, I got to get to the hospital, I'm dropping everything, and he'll be like, hey,
calm down. He was like a voice of calmness.
And he has gotten me to not move quick, not to react. And I remember just most of my life I've been a react.
I think that it's important to have.
Yeah.
Everybody don't have that. Like, I don't know if y'all have that in y'all family.
We don't.
Yeah. So if you have somebody that, because your daddy can't do it. Our daddy's in the 80s.
Because I still would get hyped right now if my dad was to tell me.
Yeah. So I think it's important to have that. But if you don't have that, it's important for me to recognize what I need to do. You know, as far as because like I said, your trauma is different from mine. Yours is different from each other's. Like I said, I was living my life like I don't want nobody to tell me what to do. I don't. But now I'm like, okay, where am I at now? I gotta grow in this, and I just gotta take accountability for I don't want.
It's like you're more open to.
I'm more open to feedback, and that's where, like I said, we mirror each other because me and you are similar, even when it comes to dating, when it comes to our kids being busy, whatever, and having Tikisha as my friend all these years, and not telling me the real about myself until like this last year. I'm like being that God done got in my life the way He has. I've been open to like hearing it and being like Tikisha said, you need to be more empathetic to your sister. I was like, I am empathetic. And when she showed me that, or gave me examples, I was like, oh, so it's easier for me to work on it now.
The good thing about what's happening now, especially at the age that we're in, I know people who don't change. Even if people tell them they don't change, they stay in their ways, they're okay with, well, that's just how I am. Just the fact that it's acknowledged, confession, acknowledged, whatever, that's still growth. And it's showing that even at this big age that we can still grow and learn that it's okay to accept people and their differences.
Tiff, let me ask you a question because I said we mirror each other. Do you and I don't know, like I said, me and Tonya have talked about this. Do you like recognize that your childhood trauma is different from Tikisha's?
Yeah, and then like even it's moments where she tell me, I'm like, that happened to you, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like I did not know you had to go through that. Yeah, I think our it's definitely different, and then I do also think that we both had different like aspects of our parents.
Yeah, we got different versions of them. Growing up, I probably got more of mother nurturing me and pouring into me from that, whereas
I didn't have that.
You didn't have that, but as an adult,
that's what
you got more of her personal and her as a person, and I never got to know Dorothy outside of her as my mother.
Let me ask you that because I talk about that part a lot when I talk about I feel like as much as I love my parents, they didn't pour into me the way I felt like I should have been poured to, which not that I blame them, but it made me make some of the decisions I've made because I didn't have that nurturing. Do you think that is why you made some of the decisions you made in life because you didn't have that nurturing with her?
Yeah, like when I was a kid, I don't remember like my mom hugging me or telling me like good job or you look pretty today. Like I don't remember all that, and I know that it affects me because like hugging my kids is very awkward.
Really?
Very awkward, very uncomfortable. Like it's just like it gives us all the ick.
All the kids too?
Yes, but like because think about it, I didn't have that, so I didn't really show that. But like as far as like us going places, going on trips, going out to dinner, me buying you whatever, like
that comes easy. That's how you think you show your love to them?
That's how I showed my love to them because that's how my dad showed his love to me. Like as a kid, the only person I remember like knowing that loved me was my dad.
Do you try to change that so that they don't feel the way you felt, like that they didn't have that nurturing? Because you don't work on that?
No. Like I'm not gonna sit over here and say like
that. I feel like though that they've adapted that personality too as well. You see what I'm saying? Because it's not like they will. Outside of the youngest, she's very touchy-feely.
Bella, my little baby, my 9-year-old, yes. But like the other day I had like hugged my 21-year-old. and she was just like, "Ooh, mommy, that was so awkward." I'm like, "Yeah." Even my 15-year-old, she's like, "Ooh, it's awkward." So it's like they know that I love them, but as far as that, no, I can't. That's
I think I work on that because I'm very huggy with my kids. But
let me tell you, you had it though. Huh? You had it though, because when we were growing up, Mom used to always say to me, Keisha,
she didn't hug me.
She said you were the affectionate one, and let me tell you why she
said
that.
To force it.
You would always, like, if she's laying on the couch, you'll get on the couch and lay on her. And
I desired that. Yeah,
you were more of that, and so, but she would say it to me, so I took it as you trying to compare me to her, so I got an attitude about it. Because she would always make it seem like you were the one that was the one.
And it probably was with her, but with Daddy, I didn't do that.
Now, that's where we differ, because I'm more like his daughter. Like he and I have always had the close relationship.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah, he and I have always had a close relationship. So there's things, even when it came to protecting you, like, you know, certain instances where they needed me to show up. They came to me, but he would be the one to come to me afterwards, like, so how did it go? You know, he want to know that you good, but he probably didn't know how to make that connection.
And I'm gonna say this because, like I said, I do remember going to lay on her and everything. But I think when I talk about not being nurtured and poured into, I talk more about him not doing it, because I feel like it's one of the reasons why I made some of the decisions I made relationship wise. Because you're looking for love from a man. And the love I really needed, the nurture I needed, was from him, and I was looking for it in the relationship. So that's why I asked her, because we mirror each other. Like, do you try to intentionally work on that? Because I intentionally work on that with, I would say more so with my daughter than my son. I work on it with him too, but she's so introverted that it's hard to communicate sometimes with her, and I don't know what she's thinking or whatever, and I don't want her to have these same traumatic issues I had growing up.
So I think I have never tried to really work on it, I would say, but what I can say is that where I lacked, I had a support system to step in. Like, my sister gave my oldest daughter all of the emotional that she needed. My mother gave my middle daughter all the emotional support that she needed, and then my little daughter, I would say we more like emotional, because she make me be that way, and I'm a grown adult now, so, and I've healed a lot of my trauma, so, you know. So I would say, like, I feel like although I was more and have been more of a provider force for my kids, they've always also been poured into in another way. I think everybody have trauma, so I'm pretty sure they have different trauma, but I don't think it's because their mom wasn't, like, emotionally pouring into them.
Yeah, because I hugged all of them.
Did you?
Yeah.
And
most definitely the oldest and the youngest. Like, my mother,
we didn't have that.
Filled that in with the middle one, for sure. But I think when it comes to, like, the relationship as far as the dad, you and I mirror with that, because I didn't have that with my dad. I feel like I didn't get a relationship where now I would put him, you know, like, my go-to, my first lineup, you know, but that did not happen until later in life, like, well within the most recent 20 years.
And I think, like, it's good that she recognized, or y'all recognize that the kids did have that. I don't feel like my kids have, even though Tonya is like their aunt, y'all have always done things to me more so as a family over the years than we have.
But my son has he doesn't have that, because he's always, and not that he was excluded purposely, but with him being the only boy, I think it was probably easier to overlook it. And that's the thing now. Where some of my regrets come in, because I feel like he didn't have a person to nurture him when he needed it. Like, he had my dad up until a certain point, and then after that, I feel like he probably was on his own, which probably reflects our relationship now, where, you know, he don't want me to tell him nothing. And I mean, I get it, because he almost 30, but he's probably felt like he's had to figure out so much alone.
And you just said what that mirrors Gabby and Jordan.
Mm-hmm. It mirrors Carter in a way too, because
yeah.
all of the grandkids are older than him.
Mm-hmm.
So he is almost kind of like isolated when it comes to having. He misses my mother so much. Because that's who
that was his person.
Yeah.
So to lose her he was 6, I believe, when Mom passed, and
so then him and Markiah will mirror each other.
Because she was 7 when my mom died, and she went pretty much mute for 3 years, where she didn't really talk.
She didn't talk.
Really?
Yeah, we wondered if she was gonna ever talk again.
Yeah.
We were scared.
She didn't talk for almost 3 years.
It was 3 years.
That's part of trauma, though. That's how.
I did not.
It's like, I mean, you could ask her questions,
and
she's gonna respond, but as far as like
communication,
no.
Did that worry you? When they, because Carter didn't not talk.
He didn't do that, but he would have so many outbursts, just crying. And I don't know where it would come from. It's like he was just like, "I miss Nanny." I'm looking like, "Sorry, we was just doing homework." Like I'm looking like lost.
Yeah.
I don't know if it worried me because I was grieving and going through a divorce and trying to get a.
When I think about you, Tiffani, is I don't think that it didn't worry you because we talked about it, but I think that you have this capability to keep going. You see what I'm saying? Where a lot of things with me, I shut down and I just be focused.
And that's another way we meet each other because I have a capability to just keep going. Yeah.
Like these are the issues. I'm aware that they're the issues, but I got 50,000 issues and I gotta keep going.
Yes.
Whereas I'm like, oh my God.
You want to stay in it for a minute.
Yeah.
Because I know
my feet over it.
Hey, when my mother had her stroke, just like Tiffany, my mother had a stroke. I was going through a divorce and my life was changing, and I didn't even realize that at the same time that's what you was going through. And I'm like, but I couldn't stop. Nothing could stop. I was literally still moving, and it was like at one point, it just be like, man, when am I gonna get a break? But I don't know when that break. I think that break finally came when I just finally like surrendered to God, because that's when I felt like a weight lift off me. But yeah, I literally was going through divorce, taking care of my mama, running over there every day, taking these kids to school, and it was a lot.
Yeah, you have to keep going.
Yeah,
Do you remember any time, or I don't know if you really had a heartbreak, like when we were younger?
You talking about like boyfriend heartbreak?
Yeah.
Not like you.
Well,
I remember yours.
He used to come up to my room. Like I would lay in the bed. Yeah, he would come up to my room, and I remember him being at the side of my bed praying for me.
Did he?
Really?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Never.
That's the type of man I want. Somebody at the side of my bed praying for me. Okay. That part.
Because my mama always say, she said, you have a heart like your father. You love like your father. So whatever he was to her, she saw that in me. And so when I would
it makes me think about my mama, because she would always be like, you your daddy's child.
Yeah, all the time. My mother has said those exact words to me.
My only time I remember having that moment with him, of course, every New Year's Eve we all prayed together as a family, but only time I remember having that moment with him was when Mama came home from the hospital and I was going through my divorce situation. And I think I talked about this before, where we were sitting at the kitchen counter and it's like we both was just sitting there kind of crying.
Yeah. And
it was like we both had such a heavy weight that I was looking at him like, you ain't never been like this with me. But ever since then, we super close,
She shut a lot of stuff down though, because when boys started visiting our home, I just never forget, we was talking to Mama like, don't let Daddy go to the door and embarrass us. Don't let him go to the door and embarrass us. And he went to the door and he told these boys, state your purpose for being here. So he changed because
I didn't know that. Yeah.
He changed. She was trying to, cushion things for us because we didn't want the embarrassment of the stern father going to the
and like I said,
I'm still waiting for my parents to tell me I can date. I'm still waiting. I think one day I just brought somebody home.
Oh wow! Did they accept it? Okay.
Yeah.
You never introduced anybody to the Banks?
I mean, from high school.
Wow.
He's not a presentable person. Like, he didn't meet Kaylee's dad until I was having her. So after she was born.
What?
That had been my boyfriend for years.
Really?
Because he's just not.
Do y'all have a fear of him, like, even now as adults, though? Like,
I don't know. Did you ever have a fear of either of your parents?
you just didn't introduce him?
My dad is intimidating.
Yeah, I think it's more so a fear for the person, not me.
He's intimidating.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know about Tiffany, but I feel the same way, even if it's a female.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
He's not welcoming.
I'm not doing
I
that.
can honestly say
like that.
I have never held a conversation with your father, and I have been friends with you for. It's always been
Your mother.
We talk about how we've been friends for 30 years in the intro. So,
I don't think that I've ever. I have always had conversations with Mama Dorothy. Like, we talk like nonstop, whatever. But when I've been around him, now that y'all saying that, I don't think that I've ever had like a conversation. Now, I know you didn't talk to my daddy and my mama, but I don't think I've ever had a conversation with Banks.
He ain't trying to talk. He's not even a small talk. It's
So
like,
he
what I'm
could
talking to you for.
be intimidating.
Yeah, he's very intimidating.
Is it because he like ain't nobody good enough for y'all anyway, friends or male?
I think it's, I just think it's his trauma.
I think
how
it's
he
his
was
trauma. I think it's
born,
how he was raised. I think it's definitely his personality, and I don't think he think anybody out here good because he think everybody is no good in work.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like,
Look, even you.
That's what I said. I said friends and
but even as a teenager, like wanting to have my friends spend the night, my mom was like, yes, but my daddy like, I mean, who is this girl? She gonna steal my stuff.
Yes.
Like the paranoia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which now I guess I never had really thought about that, Tiffany, because it makes me think now on why I am probably like how I am.
I was just about to say when people
to
come
trusting
out.
people.
Yes.
And how I be like,
So you very much
not
like
come
him.
to my house.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah,
like,
so
Tikisha, you like that
very
about
much.
people coming to your house and being in your house, even like people that you know.
I know.
Yeah, that's how he was.
And I don't think the people that realize that come to my house, like, that's a big deal. Because I have friends where I'm like, we cool, but you ain't that cool.
And see, now
Not
I think
calling
I
my
don't really
cool.
worry about it too much because I be telling Keisha all the time, like, all you gotta do is put somebody's name in and you find everything.
Yeah, now you're going to find now as
you
far
talking
as
about like doing research.
doing
Yeah, so now
research,
it's
like
just-
people can find
Are
you.
you like that though? Are you
But-
paranoid with people coming?
No, I'm
No.
like, I live here, pull up. Because it's just gonna be what it's gonna be. But no, I'm not like that. And it probably is too much.
Too trusting.
Because it's like I have my daughter, so I gotta be a little bit more.
Do y'all think that like we all sisters, do you think that we have any similarities as sisters when it comes to personality?
Of course.
You feel like me and you got I'm talking
as
about me and
I-
you.
Of course.
What personalities you think we got the same?
I believe that when it comes to the way we take care of our kids, although I may not be as active, you have a lot going on with your kids. But I do believe that the way we take care of our kids, that's still how we grow up. My mom, although there are some things that we probably struggled with growing up, she took care of her family very well. You know, I tell people all the time, I remember her making breakfast and sending her husband to lunch every day. Those are things that was instilled in us. Do you remember
y'all
that?
parents, like our parents was married, but y'all had.
We had for real.
Nice.
Tiffany, I thought Tiffany is funny. Tiffany like, wait, hold up, this is a TV show.
She's like, this a real marriage.
Well, that's what I'm asking because.
But Tiffany, before we moved, when we were still in the city, I remember Mama cooking when she was at home.
She was at wifely,
Yeah.
But she was really young though.
Yeah,
wasn't she?
Tiffany was young, but once we moved, I think it was like holiday dinner. We just was figuring it out.
She shut it down.
That's why we be like telling our kids, like, y'all need to be grateful that we feed y'all, because we grew up figuring
Tikisha, all the years we was friends, I never knew you was figuring it out.
Yeah,
and
but you know
out for
what?
your sister.
But you want to know what? Like when I think back, I used to be, as a kid and a teenager, I used to be mad at my parents. But as an adult now, I totally get why my mama had checked out.
You understand?
I totally get why my daddy went into that room and closed the door sometime and just could not do
Be
it.
a part of.
And you know what? As a kid, I was never mad. I just thought that this was how it was.
It became the normal for you.
Yeah, I didn't know that it was anything different. Because what I saw on TV, I thought that that was just pretend for TV. Yes, I thought that everybody's family functioned like this. And because I wasn't allowed, I wasn't allowed to go to anybody else's house, I didn't see anything different until you came into my life. So when I would come and sit and see your parents sitting on a couch watching TV together, that was the first. Because even growing up, we would go down south every year, 4th of July. So I would see them interacting, but even that, we would go to Alabama, stay a day or two, then we would go to Louisiana. But while we was in Louisiana, as they would say, my dad would only stay 1 or 2 days, maybe a night. And then it would just be my mom there with her siblings. And then towards the end, he would come back. So I would see my aunt and uncle, you know, or aunts and uncles, because I had some other ones, but the other one, I still don't think they married yet. They just was together.
We had to
So it was just certain things that I seen. So I thought that this was just normal. So that is why when I think of marriage and relationships, it's so distorted in my head because I've never seen.
And see, we saw it a lot, not just with our parents. All of our uncles and aunts around us have all been married, even now, for 59, 60, whatever years. And so when I got married, I automatically thought this was how it's going to be because this is what I saw.
Me too.
You know, so we brought divorce into our family because that's what I'm talking about, the pouring in. And we're like, that's where the visual come in. What we saw was what we did.
Well, we duplicated her. We just didn't have the same type of husbands as our father. He was,
I can't even say I duplicated her, but because I was rebellious, and Mama was not she did her. She had a husband that honored her and just let her be who she is, and at the same time they still respected each other. When you don't have that same match, that's why I'm like, what we saw, I automatically thought this is what I'm getting because everybody around me wasn't good. I didn't know anything different. Everybody around me had. So me here, you say your mother had checked out and your father would go in the room. I'm like, girl, I can relate to that now because when I got married, that's how it was. We were checking out. And I'm like, this is not normal because this is not what I see. This is not what I've seen. But in return, in the same instance, my friend who hadn't really seen that was probably thinking that was normal. And so I'm like, that really shows how traumatic stuff be. That's why I guess I'm so adamant about trying not to repeat the same thing with Gabby and Elijah. Yeah, because to me, I mean, as painful as it wasn't even like super painful, but I don't want them to have this false, you know, sense of how things are. I want you to see the bad. You've seen the bad because you've seen your parents go through this traumatic divorce. Yeah. But I also want you, like Tikisha used to come to our house and she saw parents that was together. Gabby and Elijah's friends whose parents are married and they sit at the table and they eat they think that's weird. I'm teaching them that's not weird. That's really.
We did it.
Yeah. I'm like, that's really how families are. Yeah. So a lot of their parents are married, so they get a chance to see and experience okay, I've seen this. Do you want that? No. Do you want this part where everybody seems like they kind of together, even though it may not be perfect, but they still function as a family? Like my mom and dad, we didn't know when they was arguing. No. She still was going to get up and do what she wanted to do for that man, and he still was going to go put gas in the car before she died and had never pumped gas a day in her life.
I'm sure she had an 850 credit score.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? So I want them to see. So my thing is, when I take accountability, I want them to recognize the bad. Yeah. Know it's the bad side because that's just life. you know. But if you do what you're supposed to do in God, you can have this other side.
It was a culture shock for me when I met friends who did not grow up the way that we grew up.
Yeah.
I have a girlfriend who said that it was her mom and her brother and her, and they grew up on top of, like, I guess it was a flat. They grew up in the top part, and the lower part was a bar where her mom worked. And so when I would hear people's stories, I'm looking at them like, so where are the husband? Well, yeah, it was a culture shock for me because everybody around us was pretty much solid in marriage.
And the only reason I be saying that is because I feel like that's going to shape the next. I feel like our mothers, all of our mothers' spirits live in us in some way. You know what I'm saying? Whether you got the nurturing side of when she was nurturing, and when she got the fun side. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, her spirit mama's spirit is in us now. Where now, first I was probably the rebellious side of her when she was younger. And I remember stories, but then as she got older, I remember going to her bedroom and she was laying in her bed reading the Bible. Now that side is coming out. So I think that we pass on the spirits of whatever.
I'm ready for the fun side. Okay.
Tikisha, you've had fun.
But
I receive it.
You've had fun.
What day?
Hey, you had fun.
This fool said, what day? I think this too. Like, we had the I don't care, I want to have fun side. You know, you're getting to that where you're like, I'm going to do
what I want to do.
Yeah.
And see, I'm at the point now in my life where I've had fun and I want to just be a wife. Because when I was a wife, I was like, now that I'm out of it, I wasn't. I was not a good wife.
And I can recognize that.
I didn't know how to be a wife. And now that I've been through so much, now I'm just ready to be a wife and be a mom.
Tonya, let me ask you, because
That
both of
makes sense
them,
to
I
me.
think, recognize it. Do you think with you being divorced, do you look back and...
3 times mad.
do you look back and say like this time coming up, reflecting like the things that you will be different? Do you think like you gave your all?
I know that there were instances when I gave my all. But I know the best work or the best part of me was the last marriage because of maturity, spiritually, and just being a woman. You know, you can't, win every fight. You can't do all that. But I was really, really dealing with a demon. And so it strengthened me because I would just remember the Lord being like, well, I didn't tell you to marry him in the first place. This was your choice. You thinking just because he said I'm fasting that this is who I say it's supposed to be for you. So now I've told the Lord, I'm in isolation and I'm just having fun getting to know you. Let me just focus on you. If you bring somebody or somebody show up and that's who is in alignment, I'm fine with it, but I'm not forcing anything.
Yeah.
I think I relate to Tiffani more because I've always been the relationship girl, and getting married, and like I said, I automatically thought this is how it's going to be. When it didn't turn out that way, I struggled. So then you become a single mother, but I still have a desire to, now that I know how to do it the right way. Not that I was terrible in it before, because I don't believe that I was, but knowing how to be a wife and now in my life is very different from how I was when I got married back in whatever.
Different.
It would be very
Yeah, because
different.
like I remember, not to cut you off, I remember like if I was mad at
that way.
I'm sorry. So like
She sounded just like her when
when he would make me mad, I wouldn't cook. I would just wait till he left to go to work because he worked nights, and I would order food from because my mom lived with us, my mom and my kids. But now, just kind of going on my journey and praying and really like realizing what a wife is. If I'm mad at my husband, I'm mad at you, but I'm still gonna make sure that
my mom and daddy, that I make sure I do what I do, and you, because you like to cook for your family. See, I'm a person that I don't really like to cook, but I think a wife role is different in each marriage, and the fact that you have a desire to be that person and take care and nurture that person that way, that's a blessing, because I realized my faults that I cooked, but I didn't cook with love. You know, I was throwing that shit together. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And not that I didn't cook, I just didn't cook with. Now, when I cook, and I cook for everybody, I had my food, probably except Tiffani, you can taste the difference in my food, because now, not that I cook, it wasn't about not loving him, it was about love for myself. That it makes a difference. So I always say, if God allowed me to have a husband again or not, I'm going to be good either way. But I know that if he does bless me with one, I already know in advance how different it would be.
You had a full circle moment when you said that, because it made me think about when Mom married, she was 19, and she said when she married him, she was spoiled. You know, she was a fuss box. I mean, you think of
she did say that. I remember that, yeah.
And she said that she remember praying to God, asking him to make her a sweet wife. And so I know that in my marriages, I haven't always said those words. Since I've lost my mom, I now think about some of the lessons, so that if I happen to do it again, if by happenstance the Lord want to be intentional and give me a husband, I know how to say, Lord, make me sweet to my husband.
I think we always prayed or asked God to fix the other person.
Yeah.
And not fix like ourselves.
And not fix ourselves.
Because I even in like my spiritual journey that I've just been on, I ended up calling my ex-husband. No, I sent him a text. I didn't call. I sent him a text. And I apologized for not being the best wife that I could have been. I apologized because he wanted to save our marriage.
That's big, Tiffani.
But I didn't want to.
Yeah,
and
it is.
When I tell you, after I said that, he texted me back and he was just like, thank you so much. And we have been, he's always still a parent to the kids, but us together have been so much better since I apologized, because I thought it was all him, but it wasn't. It was part of me.
Well, I'm not apologizing at this point. I'm just saying, you know, I'm being real, because I don't feel like the things I'm talking about now within myself was the breakdown. You did what you did. Yeah. But I can say this, in the separation, in the divorce, I did realize that the things were only going to get better, because we still got to parent these kids. Things were only going to get better if I work on me.
So you didn't verbally do it, but you still had a moment of reconciliation.
I forgive, because I realize forgiveness don't always have to be for the other person. It's for yourself, you know. And I recognize that in places where I could have been better, but also he was never supposed to be my husband.
That part.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not mad, or I don't have any bitterness. And because of that, we can have a decent conversation now, and there's no argument or anything like that. But forgiveness is there. Forgiveness is there, and I believe now, just like Tiffani said with her and her ex, we can have a conversation to come together as parents when we need to. Because, you know, if you was, I was wrong because I committed sin and you wasn't supposed to be my husband, but now we got these kids, so we have to co-parent. But, you know, I know now that I can allow God to bring somebody to me. And it's so funny because me and Tikisha a couple weeks ago, our episode was about people in the DMs. And
stay away from people in the DMs.
Listen, but God protects me, because, you know, somebody had asked me on a date, and I literally accepted the date, and we ended up not going. Like, we literally just didn't talk to each other no more after I accepted.
You ain't tell me you accepted the date. We coming on the club.
I accepted the date, and I was just like, okay, Lord, if this is supposed to be, because me and you had a conversation like, am I supposed to be, you know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah, okay. And so I was like, if I'm supposed to move in another direction, then allow it to happen. And when the date didn't happen, it was like, no, it's just like it faded away.
Yeah.
And I feel like God be covering me, you know, like I'm not going to let you get tempted with these dangling, you know, things in front of you, because you have an opening, a desire to have or to not have a husband. So yeah, girl, I accept it, but yeah, and I was good because I felt like it was an answer. I feel like he don't be waiting on me I don't have to wait long in those areas anymore because Tiffany is saying she want a chance to do it again. She want a chance to get it right this next time. I do too.
I appreciate your fixing the problem though, because she didn't apologize. But when I was in my last marriage,
she apologized to my ex.
The Lord had me. I was fasting on behalf of my marriage getting better, and what He did was said, before you can worry about fixing this, I need to go back. You to go back and fix all of these. So He had me call folk, and I was like, "Can I just send a text?" He's like, "No." And I had to call people. You know how humbling it is to have to call people that you, first of all, you wanted to gut them like a fish. And although her husband didn't do it specifically to me, the matriarch wanted to go and do some damage. Yeah. And so I had to ask for forgiveness. And I ain't like that.
Yeah, it's hard.
I didn't like it, but I mean, I can tell that I'm better now because of it. So, keep going.
I mean, I even think I've came to my sister, like, me learning myself, like, I haven't really shown up for my sister in the way that she deserves.
And would you say you haven't shown up for her?
Wow.
And I feel like that about my sister because, like I said, we are the younger ones, we the rebellious ones, and I know. Like for my sister, she's getting ready to, do something this week, and I was like, "What?" And I was thinking today. Now I'm saying it out loud, so ain't gonna be no surprise. But I'm like, "What can I do to show her?" Because sometimes people need that physical love, and they need that. And like when Tikisha told me I wasn't empathetic to my sister, I am intentional about trying to be empathetic. So
let me be clear. She wasn't empathetic to me either.
Yeah, because it's like, for example, I'll call my sister, like, she'll be like, hello, I'm like, do you know? And it's like...
you recognize that
it's like, hello, how are you? Do you need anything?
Instead of dumping everything.
Yeah. And then
it's hard for you not to dump, though?
Yeah, I think I'm getting better. I am getting better. And I try to ask her, like, is it a good time? And then even, like...
That's good.
She has some awesome friends. And the way that they show up for her, I be happy for her. But then I come back and be like, damn, like they did all that for my, like that's just a friend. Like I don't do half of the things for my sister, but
you love your sister.
I love you. You know that. Like I do.
I'm about to cry.
It's just like it's no excuse, but it's
I know what you're trying to say because I struggle with the same thing with mine on a different level. But I think that because we are all sisters, it's hard for us to change these relationships when you've grown up a certain way. And I never want to come off as being fake with Tonya.
Right.
What I'm saying? Yeah. Because I'm still a work in progress. Yeah. We're never going to be perfect in this situation. And I think me and Tikisha talked about last week, healing is going to be forever. It's not like you're going to ever be like, I'm completely healed. But the fact that we recognize where we need to be as sisters, as better to our sisters, because our mother's not here. Tomorrow will be 4 years my mother been gone. And I know it'll be eight years for your mom in August. Because we are the aunties now. We are the ones. And I remember my mother and her sisters being on the phone, showing love to each other. And that's why now when I talk to my sister, even though sometimes she talk about her, we don't start this conversation, but she talk about her job and business is way too much for me. Okay?
She can't stand it.
I can't stand it. It gets on my nerves.
That's why you laughing. You don't care. You just keep going.
But wait, that's a hard thing for her to stop. It's just like it's hard for Tiffany to stop being.
I enjoy my work.
Yes, and so Tiffany wants
everybody to grow in their.
Yes.
Because like for example, like I'll be in a I'm like, okay, my sister loves flowers, and it's like everybody buy her flowers, and I'll be like, I want to buy Tiffany, you, and I watch buy your sister no damn flowers. Like you don't have to show up for her in that way because everybody else, you have to show up in the way that you. But then I hear my sister like. But that's a part of growing. Like sometimes you have to step out of yourself and show up to the person that they need.
Yes, because and we really are coming on a close. I wasn't just saying that, but here's the thing that I think is important that I want all of us to take away with is learning the person individually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and what they need. Because for you, if I'm going to give you money, you're going to be happy with that. Mm-hmm. I don't want no money. Because to me, it's thoughtless.
You like the flowers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You like good.
So even if it's the $5 money, I mean the $5 bouquet, I'm going to want the bouquet over the $100.
So we need to learn to love each other as sisters the way that sister needs.
Yes.
Do you remember when we were
outside of how you pictured them as a person or how they reflected in your life? Just what do you like, Keisha, as a person? Mm-hmm. Like, so if I'm at the store and I want to do something nice for you, if I'm at Target that got covered everything, what section am I going in for you?
Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm trying to learn for my sister. I'm trying to listen because she loves to talk about business. I'm trying to sit and listen because she enjoys that.
I do.
She enjoys it. And as hard as it is for me to sit every day
well,
listen to it.
But the flip side is you can have somebody that's angrily and grudgingly talking about work and don't like it.
Yes. So because she enjoys it, I know I have to be intentional about being a good listener for her, and also like when I have to recognize when she need me in her way. Like these next couple weeks, I know I'm going as busy as I am. She live on the other side of town, but she gonna need me, and I'm going to have to sacrifice. And I hate to use the word sacrifice because sometimes they come off as like you don't want to do, you don't want to do, and it's not that. But I'm going to have to cut off things that I'm doing and be there for my sister in a way that she need. And in the same point, Tiffani recognized like she trauma dumps, or maybe not trauma dump, but on you. But even though she got these good friends, Tiffani, and we love her like she my sister and whatever, and Tonya got good friends, she still needs you.
Yeah.
She still needs you in a way that I can't give her. Mm-hmm. She still needs you in a way that, I ain't gonna name her other friends, can't give her.
Because, but I know we coming to a close, but it's hard for me because my sister too has been so strong my entire life that it make it look
strong people,
easy. Like
strong people,
she don't need me.
Strong people
she
get
got
weak.
it. Yeah.
No. So that's how.
Yeah.
And let me tell you one thing I know, and as we close, I'm gonna say this because we talk about this almost every time.
Yeah.
She giving us the eye.
Listen, one thing
if I'm watching, I'm gonna be like, all right,
one
y'all.
thing about Tikisha and Tonya that's similar. Well, for Tikisha specifically that I know, she loves her family. Mm-hmm. She loves y'all with all her heart in a way that I probably don't. I love my family, but the way she wants, and I believe my sister is the same way. Mm-hmm. She loves. My sister be there for. She be going to pick up stuff. I be like, why you getting that? But that's her love language to show. Tikisha loves her. So if you can recognize that she loves y'all more than any friend who buy her flowers, anybody that go be there for her, she love y'all more than any of us. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We're all there for each other because we feel like, at this point in age, like we need to show love to each other in a way that we ain't getting from a relationship or from whatever. We got to show love for each other like that. So let's all be intentional. Like I'm going to be intentional towards my sister. Mm-hmm. You be intentional towards your sister, and I know your sister's going to be intentional towards you, and I know my sister's going to be intentional towards me to show love in a way that's uncomfortable. That's uncomfortable.
And don't worry about what you think, how she's going to perceive it. Yeah. When I was going through a change and I was praying, asking him, Lord, I want to have a sweet relationship with my sister. I'm like, I don't have a sweet relationship with my sister. And I would put her name on my little prayer wall. I had a prayer wall. I put it on there, and I'm looking like, it don't look like he listening. I'm like, how many times I gotta keep talking about it? You look like you hearing what I'm saying. And then literally, he showed me, you want to be sweet, just start being sweet and stop worrying about what.
Overanalyze.
Yeah, and I do that. I'm an overanalyzer. I question everything. I do that. But he started showing me. So when her birthday came up last year, I said, oh yeah, I get to do this, and he said, don't worry about what it looked like.
I can't wait to see what you're doing this year.
Listen. Why was I sitting here thinking like I can't wait for this year? And she gonna be 50, and I get the tag on.
I ain't stuttering this
But
shit.
yeah, I think that we have to love each other in a way that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We gotta love each other in a way that, you know, is not normal for us. You know, like I have told Tonya, again, we gonna close real. I got a client, there are 3 sisters that come to me and get their makeup done, and they walk in the room and they could be on the phone with the other one. I know all 3. And if they're on the phone with any one of them, before they get off the phone, they say, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that'd be uncomfortable for me to do with Tonya. Mm-hmm. But I have told her that that's what I want to do. I expressed it to her like...
And it's uncomfortable for me too.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but the sisters that I've talked to said to me, you know, not just if you never see something happen, you never see it again. They want them to know that I love you.
Mm-hmm. It's so crazy though, because, and I know I'm the main one, like we on the close, but saying I love you and hugging and doing all of that is so natural for me.
Mm-hmm. It's not natural for me though. Mm-mm. So that's what I'm saying. Let's do.
And I know, like, and I witness other people like that. It's so not natural.
It's not natural for. And I think it's because my
parents. Like I tell her all the time, like I love you. Like it's like, hey.
No, we gotta do what's uncomfortable for us as sisters. Because I want us to get together like this off camera and just like, hey y'all, let's just go eat. We need each other.
Yeah.
We love our family. We need each other. So let's do what. I appreciated this conversation.
It was nice. Thank you for having us.
It won't be the last time. It might be another year, but no, I'm just Listen, we want y'all to like, listen, subscribe. I forgot we was on camera for a long time because I'm just, it feel like we were just sitting here talking, but like, listen, subscribe. I hope that this helps somebody else with their sibling relationship because, everybody's relationships are different. I pray that this reach people who have to forgive, learn how to love your sibling the way that they need to be loved. Mm-hmm. Okay? So like, listen, subscribe, share. We see y'all next week.
Bye.